You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
Since its inception, Amazon Web Services, AWS, has been the best place for customers to build and run open source software in the cloud. AWS is proud to support open source projects, foundations, and partners. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another on-the-road episode of the New Stack Makers. I'm your host, Heather Joslin, Editor-in-Chief of the New Stack, and we're coming to you on the road again from KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con North America here in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. Today we're going to talk about a project that has newly been accepted into the Cloud Native Computing Foundation sandbox, and that is called Cedar. We're going to be joined today by someone who's deeply involved in the project. That's Micah Hausler. He is principal engineer at AWS. Hi, Micah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get started. First things first, what is Cedar and how did it come about?
Yeah, so Cedar is a open source authorization engine and policy language created by AWS. Mm-hmm. AWS released it initially in 2022, so several years ago, really to solve problems that both teams at Amazon were having, mm-hmm. But also problems that customers were having. Mm-hmm. Problems around how do I authorize requests? How do I do that and make sure that it's fast, that it's safe, that it's performant? Mm-hmm. So it evolved out of those needs and really answering this customer problem.
Yeah. Specifically, it's designed to work with Kubernetes, which I feel like that is, we're at KubeCon. That's
right.
That's what everyone's grappling with. What had previously been some of these challenges with Kubernetes and authorization?
Yeah. So Kubernetes has relied on this role-based access control, or RBAC, for the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. RBAC went GA in 2017. Yeah. And that's gotten actually surprisingly far in Kubernetes. Mm-hmm. It's worked really well, but Kubernetes has grown a lot, right? Yeah. 8 years ago, Kubernetes wasn't nearly what it is today in the industry. It's grown in terms of usage. It's grown in terms of new features like extensions with custom resources. And RBAC, while it works very well, it's very simple. Mm-hmm. It's allow only. I can't forbid you from doing something.
Yeah.
I cannot do any conditions. I can't say, you can touch this thing if this thing is true.
Right.
If this condition is true. And it also doesn't work on attributes. So I can't say, oh, you can touch this because it is the same name as your username. Mm-hmm. Things like that. Mm-hmm. Those are some of the limitations in Kubernetes. Mm-hmm. And Cedar, fortunately, really solves these problems well. While it wasn't initially developed for Kubernetes, it's been something that we've been really excited about to see, oh wow, we created this open source project, Cedar, and it works surprisingly well to model all of what we can do in Kubernetes in a concise and readable policy language.
What may be some of the best use cases for Cedar? Obviously, within AWS would be one of them, but what sorts of engineering organizations might need this?
So there's a number of contributors to Cedar who use Cedar, and also users who are contributors to Cedar. Mm-hmm. Some of them that are more prominent are like Cloudflare, MongoDB Atlas. If you're using MongoDB and managing databases, you're actually writing Cedar policies to govern the access to your MongoDB. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that I'm obviously care most about and excited about is Kubernetes. I'm an engineer on the Kubernetes team at AWS.
Right.
And that's kind of how I got my introduction to Cedar, was saying we need a better authorization language in Kubernetes. I think this is going to be a really great application.
And you mentioned that you use it, you enjoy it. What is it? Are there things that you can do now that you could not do previously?
Yeah. So Kubernetes authorization is fairly. It's very constrained on purpose. It also attempts to be fast, and it is, but it also makes some trade-offs with that speed in terms of not letting users be as expressive. I can't deny things, right? I can't do attribute-based type access controls.
Right.
And so Cedar gives us not only those features that Kubernetes is missing, but has some really nice user-facing features on top. All your policies can be validated against a schema. So as an engineer, it's very nice to have code autocomplete when writing a policy.
Yeah.
That comes for free with Cedar. I can also be assured, because Cedar is formally verified, that my policies are correct. They won't error out. I can't have a unsatisfiable policy. It's going to either produce a allow or a deny.
How did you said that you're not yourself the creator of Cedar, but you're a user and presumably you're involved in it. How do you know how they decided to donate it to CNCF?
Yeah, so Cedar was created with this view of, we need something for our customers that they can use for their own authorization needs. We've built this AWS whole identity solution and access control solution. Customers have wanted something similar for their own needs, but so they've asked AWS over years for we want something for this. And so a lot of time went into building Cedar and a lot of thought. There was actually most of Cedar, the Cedar team that develops and works on Cedar, have a science background in formal methods. And so there a lot of thought went into the language design, into proving that Cedar can work correctly. And to your question about what went into open sourcing it, we knew it needed to work for customers, and we wanted it to be bigger than just an AWS managed service that customers could call. And so from the very beginning, it was sort of always in the long-term vision that this might be something that works so well that groups outside of AWS would want to use it and contribute to it. And so even when we first launched it, it was launched as an open source project with that in mind.
And it certainly, making something open source, it does speed up the development of it. I mean, because you have more people using it, figuring out what needs to be done, what needs to be built.
Yeah, users can see the code, they can see the implementation, they can know that it's actually, they can see the verification. We have, there's a language called Lean that we use to verify Cedar, and so they can look at the Lean implementation to say, yes, this is actually correct. And so we have had external contributors come in and add things and request things, and that's been really to the point of having open source contributors. We'd like to go beyond just contributors, but actually maintainers.
How many? Do you know how many maintainers the project has right now? Or is it?
I'd have to look at GitHub. I'm not as familiar with the number of maintainers.
Okay.
There's a couple different language bindings. The primary implementation of Cedar's in Rust, but there's an external company, StrongDM, that built the Go implementation and donated that to the project. And so that's actually part of this CNCF donation of the whole of Cedar to CNCF, is this external contribution with a new language implementation.
That's cool. Is Cedar looking for upstream contributors in addition to?
Yes. There's a number of areas in Cedar that we like contributions. One is just language bindings.
I'm sorry,
language bindings.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, Cedar's primary implementation is in Rust. There's also a Go implementation. But I think to build a whole ecosystem, you kind of need to gain all the benefits of Cedar. Not everyone writes everything in Rust or Go. Yeah. There's a whole ecosystem out there in TypeScript, JavaScript, Python that I think could benefit from this as well.
So people who write in JavaScript, TypeScript, Python should look into this. So where would they get started? Where would they get involved?
On our GitHub for the Cedar policy organization, there's a number of repos on kind of the project itself and how to get involved and how to start contributing.
Okay. There's a lot of talk in the open source world about how large companies benefit so much from open source, but they don't always contribute upstream. What can the industry do? What do you think the industry should be doing to encourage greater participation?
I think as an engineer and as a builder, and I think where it doesn't matter where you're working, if you're working at a small company or a big company. I think because it can be equally hard, even I think at small companies, to say, how do I convince my management chain that I need to work on this open source project, because often as an engineer, we like working on open source, so it's very easy to just say, I want to because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because it's fun doesn't necessarily move the business forward, right? So I think binding and proving to the business and showing, here's how this open source contribution helps our business. Here's how it helps this project.
Right.
That is what I've found is the most effective way to help management decide, okay, this is worth contributing to and spending time on.
Yeah. Or you can show them the cartoon we've all seen about the giant machine that's being maintained by
I
one,
love the XKCD comic.
One volunteer in Nebraska or Kansas or whatever it is. What is there anything on the future roadmap for Cedar that you mentioned the languages.
Yes. So additional language bindings for sure. One that I'm just as a geek very excited about is partial evaluation. Sometimes in an authorization system, you don't want just a yes or a no.
Yeah.
You want a maybe. Because a maybe can be very important. It can tell you this might be authorized, and so I need to do more work.
Okay.
That's one that I'm excited about. Another is agentic AI, actually. It's not just, I think, it can be a buzzword maybe, but I think the applications of Cedar are very interesting because Cedar is deterministic. AI is not necessarily deterministic.
Right.
So if you want a deterministic tool to feed into AI, that's very powerful, as well as just securing all the agentic AI. You have all these new systems coming online, these new principles in the system of agents that need to make actions. How do you want to make sure that they're properly allowed to do what they're attempting to do? And I think Cedar can fill that gap.
It does seem like this conference, there's a lot of talk about agents and Kubernetes in particular, compared to about a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, where there was a lot more talk about coding assistance as opposed to, so let's dive into that. Sometimes you want your authorization to say maybe. What are there specific use cases or types of organizations that where that's important? Like
actually, Kubernetes has been one of those really interesting ones to me. Kubernetes, in the way it's currently implemented, like I mentioned, authorization. It also has this admission phase. In Kubernetes authorization, the full request body is not passed. So I, as an authorizer, I don't know what are the labels on this request, what are the fields on this request. That's not consulted in authorization. But I might want to write a policy to say, Micah can only, or someone else can only touch something that they own. And but I know their ownership is part of the body, so I don't know yet. Cedar can give you back, here are the policies that would apply once you do know those details. And Kubernetes has this later phase called admission, which has that full context. And what we can do is actually apply those maybe answers to that full context and say, now that we have the full context, we can know that maybe is a yes or a no.
What do you... is there anything we talked about the roadmap? Is there anything you would like people to know about Cedar just from working with it that you find, like maybe is there a hidden superpower it has, a hidden perk, or something that may not make the top line of benefits?
I think there's a couple things that struck me about it. One is just how readable it is. This is one of the things that we talk about, but I sort of geeked out when I first saw it because I realized, like, everyone in technology has non-technical family, friends, whatever, and you might try to explain what you're working on to your family and friends and say, oh, this is what I'm doing, and a lot of times it might go over their head, my eyes might glaze over, and so when I can actually show them a Cedar policy and say, here's the text of this code that I'm working on. What do you think it does? And they can actually, as a non-technical person, read it and understand it. It's that's the level of I think readability that we're talking about, of not just, I know Python, so I can read this code and sort of understand what that's doing, or I know Python, but I can read Ruby and I can sort of infer. If I know Cedar, if I am even a non-technical person, I can read Cedar and understand what this policy means. That's very powerful.
And within an organization too, because I imagine you have non-technical stakeholders that.
Yes.
That
right. Every organization has, even technical organizations have non-technical stakeholders, and so being able to express, here's why this is allowed, here's why this is denied, is very powerful.
Yep. Right, and it definitely in a time when that's another trend I feel like I'm picking up on here is that at this conference a lot of talk about, how do we bring more non-technical stakeholders and more people into our decision making, more into to understand what we do. So, and I think that's a good place to wrap up. So I just want to thank Micah Hausler from AWS for joining us today. Thank you, Micah.
Thanks.
And I just want to thank all of you for joining us for this conversation. This has been Heather Joslin for the New Stack Makers. We're here at on the road at KubeCon in Atlanta. We'll see you next time.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.